तान् समीक्ष्य स कौन्तेयः सर्वान् बन्धून् वस्थितान् कृपया परयाविष्टो विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्. So we had completed this verse in the last class, where, as you know, after all the description of the conches being blown and the armies getting ready for the war, Arjuna asked Krishna, in fact he ordered Krishna, because at that time he thought he was the boss. He ordered Krishna to place the chariot between the two armies, and Krishna, as a driver of the chariot, he duly obeyed. He brought the chariot and placed it in front of the armies. Now here Krishna also had some idea. He brought the chariot and placed it in front of Drona and Bhishma. If he had placed the chariot in front of Duryodhana and Karna, things might have been different. Because if Arjuna had seen these two people, he would have got more angry and he would have straight away got into the war. But Krishna knew, of course, he has to know because he knew everything. So he tactfully placed the chariot in front of where Arjuna could see Bhishma and Drona very clearly. And probably Krishna also had this thing that what is going to happen to Arjuna. And he was ready. He had to find somebody to teach Bhagavad Gita. So he thought, okay, this is the chance. Let me find one student. And Arjuna is the right person right now. So let me get this chance to teach Bhagavad Gita. So that is why probably he placed the chariot in front of these two stalwarts. And as you know, after seeing them and then surveying the army of the Kauravas, seeing all his relatives, his uncles, cousins, brothers, brother-in-laws and friends and every kind of people whom he knew very well, all in front of him, suddenly Arjuna lost his cool, or not cool, I would say. He just couldn't proceed further. So he, as in the 27th verse, he just, seeing all the people, he was seized by compassion. So this is, like, this chapter is called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the chapter of Arjuna's sorrow. So now only the title of the chapter is going to be justified, because so far whatever previous verses we had seen, there's nothing to do with sorrow. But now we are going to see the reason why this chapter is named as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Now, in the beginning, at the beginning of this Bhagavad Gita, I had said that the main disease that everybody has is called as samsara. Samsara consisting of raga, shoka and moha. These three things, these are the three main diseases that everyone is afflicted with, but we don't know. Like, many times people are detected with certain serious diseases like cancer. Only at a particular point they come to know when it is too late. Till then, though the cancer might have been there in the body, people wouldn't have known it is there. So they go about their normal work. Same thing here also. Arjuna didn't know about this disease till he faced the situation. So once he saw all these people in front of him, a wave of sorrow came upon him. He just could not visualize himself fighting against all these people. So what happens when you, so attachment leading to sorrow. This is what now we are going to see. How? So it is not that Arjuna was not attached to these people earlier. It is not that suddenly in the battlefield he saw them and he got attached to them. He had been with these people since birth. He had probably played in Bhishma's lap. He would have shared lot of Guru Shishya moments with Drona, and even with the Kauravas, though they were all against them, they might have been friendly with some of them, and so many other people with whom they didn't have any other issues. So all these people, they were already familiar with them, but that attachment was not visible. Only when he faced the situation, the attachment came to the fore, which, as we said, leads to sorrow. So the attachment now leads to sorrow. So that is what in the last verse we saw. He was looking at all these people, he was overcome with sorrow. Now let us move on to the next verse. Next two verses we'll read together. Arjuna uvacha drishtavemam swajanam Krishna yujutsum samupasthitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati vepatyuscha sharire me romaharshasta jayate. So now Arjuna further says to Krishna, looking at all these people who are my own, they are all my relatives and they are all ready for battle. Looking at them, he says, my limbs are losing their strength. He said, all my limbs are very, they are losing their strength. My mouth is drying up. My body is trembling. And the hair on my body is standing on its end. So this is a sign that sorrow leads to a physical problem also. When the mind is engulfed with sorrow, we experience all kinds of physical problems. So he felt his limbs were not able to hold him. He was not able to, he felt his legs were becoming weak. His mouth was going dry. So this kind of things all we might have also experienced in certain situations. Of course, none of us would have encountered what Arjuna had to encounter, where he had to kill all his relatives. We may not encounter that kind of a situation. That is why the worst situation is given, so that nobody can say my situation is worse than what Arjuna faced. So I don't think any of us are in a situation where our situation is even more worse than Arjuna. So there he was standing in front of all his relatives, and it is not that they were all dead. Just imagining killing all of them itself, he got this. So it's just an imagination that he was going to kill all these people, because he was confident. As a warrior, he was confident of victory, and with Krishna by his side, he had no doubt they are going to win. But their winning the war meant the opposite camp had to be annihilated. So nobody was going to survive in the opposite camp, because unto the last man they would fight, and Duryodhana was not a person who will give up the fight till the end. So whoever was victorious had no doubt that the other camp had to be wiped out. So he knew his strengths, he knew they were definitely going to win the war, and winning the war meant all these people had to die. So visualizing that itself, his attachment towards all the people in the opposite camp made him become very sad, and in turn his body also, his body language, everything changed. So he was feeling the effect on his body. So that is the first impact. So we are going to see gradually, like how attachment leads to sorrow, and then sorrow leads to delusion. So slowly you will find that from physical problem, he is going to face he is going to be confused, he is going to blabber, because once sorrow engulfs you, then your power of reasoning, nothing works. So this is the process. So that is what we are going to learn from Arjuna's situation. This is the same thing which all of us might have faced sometime, or we may face in due course. So because it's a universal problem, that is why Bhagavad Gita is meant for everybody. It's a universal problem, but through Arjuna we should try and understand, put ourselves in Arjuna's shoes and see. So the next verse we will read. Gandivam sramsate hastad tvakchaiva paridhayate nacha saknomya vasthatum brahmativacha me manaha. Again Arjuna says, Krishna, his bow, Gandiva as it was called, it is slipping from my hand. I am not able to hold the bow. I don't have enough strength in my hand because the bows were very, very heavy. In fact, to lift the bow itself, you need tremendous strength. And then after that, place the arrow there on that and fire required a lot of skill and strength, both. So when in a normal time itself, it takes a lot of strength and effort to use the bow. When his limbs were failing, naturally the bow looked as if it was some few tons of weight. So he found it slipping away from his grasp. He also said another effect of that, my skin is burning. My skin is burning, the bow is slipping away from my hand. I am not able to stand. The legs didn't have the strength to take his weight. He felt he would collapse any moment. And his mind was totally confused. He didn't know what to do. He could not think what to do next. So all these are signs of sorrow and delusion. Slowly, attachment leading to sorrow, and sorrow leading to both physical and mental problems. Again, we'll move on to the next verse. Nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava nacha shreyonu pashyami hatva swajanama have. So this is Krishna, I see bad omens. I see bad omens around, and I do not see any good in killing my own people in this battle. So now he's almost given up on his fight. He is finding various excuses now not to fight. So he says he sees bad omens and he doesn't see any reason for him to fight this war. Again continuing, verse 32. Na kangshe vijayam Krishna na cha rajam sukhani cha kim no rajena govinda kim bhogair jivitena va. Now he has become totally philosophical. So when the mind is deluded, it finds all kinds of reasons. He started talking philosophy now. He says, I neither want victory nor the kingdom or the comforts. What is the use of this kingdom or these pleasures? And what is the use of living itself? So from a situation where he was ready for so many years, he had visualized fighting this war to get back the rights. After every preparation, finally, it must have happened to us also during our exams. We must have prepared very vigorously, all set for the exam, and then when the question paper comes, maybe the first question you see, that is where you might not have prepared, and then you start panicking. You forget that all the other questions might be easier. So then when you look at when the mind starts panicking looking at that, then you will find that even the simpler questions you are not able to, which you knew also, will appear tough. So this is what exactly happened. So he said, there's no point in fighting this. What is the point in killing and winning this kingdom? What will I do with all this kingdom or pleasures? Or what is the use of this life? So he started talking philosophy. Again proceeding, verse 33. Yesham arte kangshitam no rajam bhoga sukhani cha ta ime vastita yuddhe pranam styaktva dhanani cha. And for whose sake is this victory? Because even if I win, all these people for whom actually if I win, I should enjoy with all these people, but they are all in the opposite camp. With my friends, with my uncles, my teacher, all these people, when they themselves are not there, even if I win, what will I do with that? So these people have all assembled here, giving up everything, giving up their families, and they have come to fight. And by defeating them and winning this war, they themselves will not be there. So winning the war will be meaningless, because for whose sake I am fighting this war, if they themselves are not there, then the whole purpose of winning is not there. So again, there's no point in waging this war. So he just wants to find all kinds of now reasons and excuses for not fighting the war. Next verse 34. Acharya pitara putre astaiva cha pitamaha matula Shvarura Pautraha Shala Sambandhinastatha. Again he reads out the people who are assembled in front: teachers, paternal uncles, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, in-laws, grandsons, cousins, friends and relatives. So all he could see was all these people are related to him, and by killing all these people he is not going to achieve anything, because the reason for fighting, if you win also, you don't have the people with whom you can enjoy. So it is not like you are facing a third enemy and then once you win that war, all these people are with you, you all enjoy together. But here you have killed all these people and then you have nothing to enjoy. So again and again he is bringing out his sorrow by pointing out various reasons for not fighting. Etana hantumichhami ghantopi madhusudana apitrailokya rajasya heto kimnu mahi krite. So he says Madhusudana. So everywhere he addresses Krishna by different names. So there is a reason why he does that. So here Madhusudana. So Krishna is also called as Madhusudana because he had killed the demon called Madhu. So what Arjuna is trying to say is, you killed Madhu because he was not related to you, so you had no problem. But I am going to kill all my relatives, so you should understand my position. So that is what, by each time he addresses Krishna in a different way, just to make his point. So he says, even if I get to rule all the three worlds, the heavens, the earth, everything, it is not worth. Forget about this little kingdom. Even if I get all the three worlds, it is still not worth fighting this war, because all these people will not be there. Once the war is over, none of these people are going to exist. So there is no point in again winning this war. Again, next verse 36. Nihatya dharda rashtranaha ka priti swasya jannardana papameshraya papame vashraye dasman hatyai tanatayinaha. Again he addresses Krishna as Janardana here. Janardana means the one who chastises the wrongdoers, one who punishes the wrongdoers. So again he wants to convey that Krishna punishes the wrongdoers who are not related to him. But I have to punish or kill people who are all my own people. So here again, when it comes to attachment, you forget that people like Duryodhana, they were doing adharma, and as a Kshatriya, his duty was to fight against adharma, punish the people who are doing adharma. But when it comes to your own, so this is what even in today's context we can see, if your own people do adharma, it is okay. But if somebody else does, we always have a problem. So here, this is what happens when a righteous man like Arjuna himself, so you cannot blame the people today because they are not as righteous, not as valorous, not as warriors like Arjuna was. So he himself, he was supposed to be a protector of dharma. he himself forgot that his job was to protect dharma irrespective of who is in the opposite side, whether it was his own people or whether it was somebody else. Adharma had to be punished. So as a Kshatriya, his prime duty was to destroy adharma, but here he conveniently forgot that people at the other end, they were all doing adharma. The war was happening because of adharma. So this is what attachment does. You forget your duty. So he forgot his duty as a Kshatriya. So he says, what kind of satisfaction will I get by destroying these sons of Dhritarashtra? By destroying them, I will only incur sin. So here he mentions by killing this Atatayi. Now this is, in short, it means wrongdoers. But who is a Atatayi? Atatayi is one who indulges in any of these 5 deeds is called as a Atatayi. Now what are these 5 deeds? The first one is called Agnida, an arsonist who sets fire to some other's property. Garada, one who poisons others. Sastronmatta, who attacks an unarmed person. Dahana Paha, who robs the Dhana Paha, one who robs the wealth of others. Kshetrahara, one who occupies others' land. And Darahara, one who grabs another's wife. So any of these deeds, if somebody does, he is called as a Atatayi. And any of these, if somebody does, as per Shastra, they have to be given the most severe punishment, including the capital punishment. And in the opposite camp, Duryodhana had done all of these things. If you remember the story, he had tried to burn the Pandavas, he had poisoned Bhima, he also robbed their wealth, he had grabbed their land, refused to give even an inch of land which was theirs by right, and he had also tried to take away Draupadi. So among the Atatayis, probably Duryodhana was the biggest one, and he deserved the worst punishment. But in his delusion, Arjuna even forgot about the adharma that these people had carried out. So he said, I don't want to incur sin by, so he was under the impression by killing all this, he is only going to incur papa. So again, the mindset, when you are deluded, as to say, your mind doesn't work. So you forget all the wrongs that these people had done, and you start finding excuses. I am going to incur sin, not that they are going to, whatever they have done is much more than that, but he feels by killing them he is going to incur sin. So it's become reverse now. So imagine if a policeman thinks he is going to incur sin by capturing a robber, will the policeman work? Is he doing his duty? So that is similar to what Arjuna felt now. So he felt by killing these wrongdoers, he is going to incur sin. So just the other way around. Again, the next. Tasma narha vayam hantum dhardarashtran swabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah syama madhava. So again he says, justifies that because we would incur papa, we should not kill our own relatives. By killing our own relatives, how can we be happy? So again he keeps on repeating the same things again and again, just bringing out the effects of the attachment. And Krishna never said anything. He just allowed him to carry on with his. He just wanted him to, vomit all the things he had in his mind. Because if Krishna had interrupted at any stage, it would not have helped. Because then Arjuna would have found more and more excuses. All of us will see that if somebody is saying something, when we interrupt, that person will again try to justify. Because most of us, we don't listen for the sake of listening, we listen to respond. We just listen and we want to make our point. So we listen for the sake of responding. We don't listen to understand what the other person is saying. So here again we need to understand, this is how we need to see how they presented, how Krishna allowed him to talk. He just let him bring out all his frustrations, all his sorrow, just come out. He just allowed him to do that without interrupting, and at any stage he did not interrupt till he had completed his, and at one point he just surrenders. Till that point Krishna never said anything. So Arjuna went on and on giving all the reasons. So when somebody is in that state, we might have also seen, people will come out with all kinds of justification, because when they don't want to do something, all of us, when we don't want to do something, we come out with all kinds of justifications. Why we don't want to do. Whether it should be done or not, it is different, but we don't want to do, so we will try to justify in all ways and means. So that is what Arjuna is trying to convey. Again we'll read the next two verses together. Yadyapyete na pashyanti lobo pahata chetasaha kulakshayakritam dosham mitra drohe cha patakam katham na geyamasmabhihi papadasmanivartitum kulakshayakritam dosham prapashyadbhi janardanaha. So here Arjuna says, we know that Duryodhana and his people, their minds are destroyed by greed. So that is why they don't know what they are doing. But should we be like them? Our minds are not destroyed by greed. So why should we fight? Because knowing that they are wrong, what is the point then what is the difference between us and them? That's what he wants to say. You say they are overpowered by greed, and that is the reason they want to fight. and by doing that they are incurring papa. So why should we in turn do fight against them? So again the same way he is trying to justify. They are wrong. Should we also, like sometimes we say, no, if that person is stooping to that level, should we also stoop to that level? But here the situation is different. He is just trying to justify, though it should be the opposite. If they are doing adharma, it is our duty to protect dharma. But if they are doing adharma, he feels we will also be doing adharma by killing them. So that is his logic. So all these rantings of Arjuna clearly show that he was deluded. So again, coming back to the problem of samsara, attachment leads to sorrow, which again was visible in his body language itself. He could feel his limbs going weak, he could feel himself trembling, he could feel the strength going, he could not even hold the bow in his hand, his mouth was going dry. That was the first signs, visible signs in his body. Then his mind was not logical, or his mind was completely deluded. He himself said, I am not able to think. So without thinking, when somebody speaks, they will speak like that only. So they will try and justify. All these things we might have come across in our day-to-day life also, such situations in a small way. I wouldn't say we cannot compare our situation with Arjuna, but if we look at different situations we might have faced, we might have also either gone through the similar situation, or we might have participated in some such thing where we are sort of deluded and the mind is not functioning the way it should. It is not rational. We find excuses. If you might have observed, a lot of people who are very good at studies, they prepare themselves well, but in the last moment they sort of back out from writing the exam because they feel they may not come first. So I have seen such people. Not that they will not pass, they are so obsessed that if they don't come first, there is no point in writing the exam. So there are people like that. So it happens to all of us. So this kind of situation we can all relate to. So that is what the whole purpose of this chapter is, to put ourselves in Arjuna's shoes. We may not be in the same situation as he had, but our own battles, we can relate to that. So the whole idea is to discover the problem. So Arjuna is now discovering the problem of samsara. For us also, by using Arjuna's example, we can also discover our samsara, because once we discover because without knowing the problem we cannot find a solution. So we must agree we have a problem, because a lot of people say I have no problem. Good, if somebody has no problem, it's nothing like that. But Arjuna also thought he had no problem until he faced this situation. So we also, in some situation, we are going to face the problem. So if we are able to find a solution before the problem actually hits us, we will be better equipped to face the problem. So all these verses so far are just to identify ourselves with Arjuna's problem, so that when Krishna gives the solution, we will also be able to use those solutions for our benefit. So the whole idea of Bhagavad Gita is not just for academic study. How we can implement all these things in our day-to-day life, and most of these things, it is as relevant today as it was in those days. So some people may say, oh, that was an ancient thing, today our problems are different. They cannot be bigger than what Arjuna faced. That is why it is relevant even today, and it will be relevant even another few thousand years. So it's always going to be relevant. So this is what the situation from what we can learn. We will continue in the next class.